Hello world, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Little Bit Different podcast with your host, Corey Sterling. I hope everyone has been magical since I last reached out and shared something. This is a friendly reminder to subscribe and like to the podcast. If you enjoyed the content, I'm super excited for the episode that I prepared today, which are the reflections that I have from running my first retreat. Yoo-hoo! So I did it. I ran a retreat. It was a smashing success. And I want to share some of the lessons that I took from the experience of having the idea to do it, to actually doing it, to what happened when I did it, to what I want to do the next time. A lot more people should consider running retreats and also just consider reframing what a retreat is and what it is that you're really offering with it. So with all of that being said, I hope that you enjoy the content, and I'm going to jump into this episode of reflections from running a retreat. The first thing that I want to talk about, and this comes a little bit from my perspective as a lawyer and as my entrepreneur, has to do with the financial aspect of running a retreat. And I see a lot of clients who will plan to run retreats and will make a really expensive booking and have a lot of fixed expenses and costs, and then get really stressed about not being able to sell, or if they're selling too many, or if they're not selling enough, or everything because there's a financial crunch. And basically, I think, especially for the first time that someone's running a retreat, or the first couple of times that someone is running a retreat, it's really, the most important thing is the experience that participants have, and making sure that you're doing everything for them to feel wonderful. And a big way of how they're going to feel wonderful is going to be based off of how you feel and how you're feeling as you do something. And anyone who has any particular skill set can create a retreat. And I think that before I went through this experience, I thought that a retreat had to be something in a particular way. But now that I'm on the other side, and I went through the whole process of like having an idea, wanting to do it, choosing the dates, everything until the end, and until, waving as the last car pulled away for the transfer. What I've realized is the most important thing is that the clients enjoy it and that you enjoy doing it. And I think the single biggest variable that will determine the level of stress that you have around running a retreat will be the financial situation. Because if you can figure the financial piece out, then you're not going to be stressed. You're going to be pretty easy, and everything's just going to flow in a much more natural way. And so the big piece of advice that I would give is just to be really careful about your margins, and ensure that the margins are designed and set up in a way so that you can succeed. So if I think back to a story that one of my clients went through, they wanted to run a retreat in the Dominican Republic, and they had they went on Airbnb, they got a huge mansion on Airbnb with no refund policy for $9,000 for the week. And now they needed to sell 6 spots at $2,000 each just to be able to pay off that major expense. And what I can say is that, having listened to that client's story and all the stress that they were under, that the best way to do it is just set it up so that your overhead expenses are very low, and that there's no pressure for you to sell things. So for example, you charge X. Okay, cool. You just make a very simple budget. How much is accommodation going to cost? How much are the activities going to cost? What service am I providing included with this? And, what would I need to charge in order to break even, and how many would I need to be able to sell? And in my case, I was offering this in Brazil. I secured the accommodation for a price that I was clear on. I knew that I would be giving 10 hours of personal coaching. I knew that there would be 10 hours of kite lessons. I knew that there would be additional activities. I came up with a budget for all of those things. And then I said, okay, what is an amount that I can sell that even if I just sell one, I know that I'm going to be profitable and I'm going to learn from the experience. So a major pitfall that I see clients who run retreats fall or mistake themselves with is setting up their overhead expenses too big initially, and then they're stressed about how much they're selling and all of the timing and everything relates to that, and what if people want this and what if people want that. And so the first piece is just like, think about the margins, think about what your fixed costs are going to be, how can you minimize the fixed costs as much as possible, at least the first time that you do it, and then build your business model and your business system around that. And the truth is, there's so many of my clients and so many of my friends who have very, very unique special skill sets that they could run their own retreats, and their own retreat could be one person, it could be 2 people, it could be 10 people. But if there's something that you're really good at that other people can benefit from spending time with you and you showing them how to do something or how to improve in something, and you couple it into a really cool, awesome trip, I think it'll be very, very well received. So that's the first thing that I want to share that I learned from my experience of running a retreat is just like figure out the numbers and minimize your overhead costs so that you're able to be present and you're not stressed about how much money am I making? Am I going to lose money? What's going to happen with all of this? Now, here's the second thing that I learned from running my first retreat, which was freaking awesome. And it's just, I've only got 2 words on this piece of advice that I would say, and that is just do it. Just do it. Just put it out there. Make it happen. Find a way to make it happen. Put in the effort to build a website, put together a cool video, have some good copy on a landing page, share it with your network, share it with people, and just make it happen, because there is no replication for experience. And if running retreats or creating experiences and cultivating experiences, whether cultural or travel or entrepreneurial, whatever it is, if that is something that you want to do and something that's important for you to do and to start building that skill, start now. Start as soon as you possibly can and just do it once and be okay with whatever it is the first time. I learned this. I'll tell a quick story from running a yoga festival and what I learned running a yoga festival. So over 3 years, I had an idea with a business partner to create a yoga festival in Ontario. At the end of the 3rd year, we had 600 people camping in a forest, doing yoga, having an amazing time. I learned so much through that experience. Probably one of the most profound lessons that I took from the whole experience happened in the first 3 months, where we put on a soft event, like a soft launch event in downtown Toronto in January. And my parents came, my mom and my dad came. Thank you, Mom and Dad. My friend Josh and his, at the time, fiance, Andy, came. And there was like one random person who saw the event and came to the event. And I remember for me, I felt crushed. I was like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? How are we going to put on a yoga festival if no one's going to show up? And my business partner, Ashley, at the time was like, oh my God, this is amazing. One person showed up. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't really think about it that way. And I think that what I'd say of having gone through of making a retreat happen and actually offered it is that you just do it. And once you do it, you've done it. And once you've done it, you can be so much better at doing it in the future. But none of it happens unless you do it for the first time. And for me, it was a dream for so long of mine to bring people to Brazil, to Ceará, to show them how I live my life, to show them what life is like here, to show them how special and how much of a paradise it is in this part of the world, how cool kite surfing is, how beautiful the sunsets are, how relaxed the whole vibe is here. And I just really, 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 really wanted to do it. And now that I've done it, it's like I know the next logical step for me in building my business in terms of retreats and offerings and travel and everything like that. But I never would have known it if I didn't do it. And so I just want to really, really reinforce for anyone who's listening out there, if you have the idea to build a retreat or have an experience or an immersion or a workshop or an anything, do it. Mark a date, put a little bit of skin in the game. Don't put a prohibitive amount of financial investment into it, but put some into it so that it's going to force you into action and make it happen, because by virtue of you doing that one thing, it just opens thousands and thousands of doors for you down the road. So whatever idea you have, whatever expertise or skill you have, put it out there, share it. There is definitely someone and a group of people who want to participate in what you want to create. And the only way that you can make it happen is by doing it. Now, the third lesson that I learned about this experience of running my first retreat is twofold. And so 3A is the following, and this is so important. You have to create and curate an experience that actually lights you up, you yourself as the facilitator. Because if what you're doing doesn't light you up and isn't exciting for you, it's not going to be great for other people. And so even for me, in my case, of marrying two things that are so different and far away from each other, like learning to kite surf with operating an online business, those two things, there's not really a universe other than in my world where they coexist. But to me, I was like, it makes sense to me. And I was like, yes, obviously this is the thing. And for me, it was really, really important in terms of speaking with people, in terms of speaking about it, in terms of sharing about it, getting excited about it, wanting to put it on, being motivated. It was so in alignment. It was so authentic. I was so driven to make it happen because it came from something that I really believe. But the most important thing is, as you're doing this, do create an experience that you think is important, that you think that people will benefit from, that you think people will go from, that you think people will appreciate. One of the participants on the retreat made it very, very clear that their participation on the Conscious Council kite surfing and business building retreat, it was like one of the best experiences of their life. And that touches my heart, and that's the reason why I do it and why I did it and why I'm going to continue to do things in the future. Because if you can do something that is authentically you and you're able to provide that experience for other people so that they have it and they enjoy it, it's totally worth it. You sort of have an obligation to do it. And it's also like just pretty cool that you're able to make offering some sort of service in some sort of place also part of your revenue and part of your business. Now, 3B, in addition to it having to light you up and be authentically aligned with who you are and what you want to create, the next piece that's really, really important is that you have to understand why people are coming on your retreat and what it is they actually want to get from it. And the shortest path between 2 points is a straight line. Coming up with intentions beforehand and having a pre-retreat call and understanding, what are you looking to get out of this? What sort of experience would be meaningful to you? What are the specific deliverables that you want? Getting really, really clear on all of that stuff. It's actually like, it makes organizing the retreat so easy, because from that point, you can just organize everything. Like, oh, cool. A, B, and C are really important to the participants on this retreat. So I'm going to make sure that I focus, and that at a minimum, when they're walking away and they're hopping on the plane to go back home, at least A, B, and C have happened. And getting that clarity and understanding what people want in the experience is super important. And I would also say, in my experience, just in general, with both as a participant and now as a facilitator, in a lot of ways, less is more. And a lot of the magic of what takes place on retreat is in the quiet spaces and in the spaces of creation. In the sense that you don't want days that are super packed. You want to give people an opportunity to rest. You want to give people an opportunity to regroup. You want to give people an opportunity to create, to meet other people, to have their own experiences. So again, just this third point that's really, really important to me is that whatever it is that you're creating, A, it has to light you up and you have to really believe in it. And B, you should really understand what the participants on the retreat are looking for and try as clearly as possible to understand those intentions, deliver the programming in order to satisfy what those intentions are, and constantly check in with participants to see like, hey, how are we doing? Is there anything that could make this better? What could I do to make this better? How can we improve what it is that we're doing? And so long as you do all of those things, you'll have very happy customers and happy clients, and then you'll be able to do more and more of these things.
Hello, world. This is Corey from A Little Bit Different Podcast. I'm going to tell you a statistic now. You're not going to believe it. Only 22% of people who listen to the Little Bit Different Podcast actually subscribe or like the channel. So right now I'm on a mission to get 250 subscribers to the channel by the end of the year. Will you help me? I'm hoping that the answer is yes. So please, anytime you watch any of our content, subscribe, hit subscribe, that whole button there, and like it and share it and keep being different and having the most fun ever.
This is probably the biggest personal lesson that I took away from the experience of running a retreat. And it's so fun. And it's so fun and it's delicious and it's really, really exciting because you have to try things. As an entrepreneur, you have to try different things. You have to be open to things. And you also have to let things be what they're going to be. There was a moment that one of the participants on the retreat sort of upon arrival said something like, yeah, oh my God, I'm so excited for Camp Corey. Because like obviously I'm integrating someone into my lifestyle and my routine and we're doing all of the things together. Like we're meditating, we're kiting, we're doing all the sort of things. It was sort of like me showing my life, with others and sharing how I live and what it is that I live. And what's so cool is like, as the experience was going, I realized what the next version of my retreats are going to be. And what it's going to be is it's either going to be called Camp Corey or it's going to be called Camp Conscious Council. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one-on-ones and I'm just going to have participants wherever I am traveling in the world. I'm going to choose a destination. I'm going to say, hey, I'm in this destination for these dates. If you want to come, we'll do one-on-one business coaching for the week. I'm going to set you up with a cool place to stay. I'm going to give you all the restaurants. I'm going to give you all the local adventures. And then you can choose between different activities. Like if you're in Thailand, you could go scuba diving. You can, go to a basket weaving. You could do a Thai massage thing. You could do Thai cooking class. You can do Muay Thai. You can do meditation. You can do whatever it is that you want. But what I realize is like really what I'm best suited to is not organizing for a big group. And that's not my skill set. Really is more intimate and more one-on-one. And I realized like I just need to make these mini camps wherever I go around the world and invite people to join. And like why not, wherever it is that you live, why not go to Thailand for a week, work with a business coach who has, built several six-figure online businesses while keeping a cool, relaxed travel lifestyle and also having like a great cultural experience at the same time. And what's beautiful about that realization of that's what the next logical step is I never would have got that if I didn't do this, if I didn't try it this way. And so the lesson that I learned, and I'm constantly learning about everything in my life, is not being attached to things looking a particular way. So it doesn't need to look a particular way. It doesn't need to be a particular way. And this is like in my personal and professional life, it always happens in the sense that you have an idea going into doing something, whether it's a new business initiative, whether it's hiring someone new, whether it's a new plan, where you're like, okay, like this is what we're doing and this is how it's going to go. And I'm just only speaking from my own experience that probably the biggest problem or issue that I go through is I start doing something, I expect it to go a certain way, it doesn't start going that way, and then I try to manipulate it or corrupt it to go the way that I think that it should go. But what I'm learning and what this experience of running my first retreat taught me is the ease and the flow of letting things take their natural path and letting it go the way that it's meant to be and realizing at the end of it, oh, okay, maybe I'm not going to, run retreats in the future, but maybe the best way for me to do this is to just have one-on-ones, invite someone to come hang out with me, do 2 hours of coaching a day for 5 days or 6 days, and let them have their own experiences in doing things that they like and that they enjoy and finding that fine balance. And for me, I knew it from the moment that was said, Camp Corey, I was like, okay, now I'm onto something. This is really, really what it can be. But again, if I was only focused on having the outcome that I thought I would have at the start, I would have been totally blocked. I would have been like, no, it's Conscious Council retreats. That's what we're doing here. We're doing Conscious Council retreats. So again, a really, really powerful lesson and something that is so beautiful. And it sort of ties all of these other points that I've spoken about together. Like the idea of just doing it in order to get access to that lesson. in terms of understanding what you want to do, understanding what other people want to do, and also this alignment with not being attached to being any particular way, just opens all of the doors of possibility. And before I ran the retreat, I never ever could have thought that the next natural idea would be something like Camp Conscious Council. But now it is. And now I'm going to play that game, and I'm going to go down that road and see what it's like to build it and market it, and what people are interested in, how they might be. So once again, this whole experience of running the retreat is another example of, in business and in life, you start something, you think it's going to go a certain way, and then in the end, it goes a different way, but where it brings you is where you were meant to be all along. One lesson that I learned from really, really working in the most intense way that I ever have with a coaching client. So I've worked with coaching clients before, but I've never had that intensity and continuity of 2 hours a day, every day, going back and back and back and back. So one of the anchors of my coaching services and my experience as an entrepreneur, at least what I can coach to, right? I can be really, really helpful to people in particular industries, specifically in health and wellness, especially when they're offering services. But what I absolutely double down and triple down on after the experience is the importance of having a niche. Because the truth is, when you have a niche, everything else in your business becomes so much easier. And even in a very simple exercise of, I've got a new business idea that I want to put out, okay? And I want to get booked on podcasts. Let's just use that as an example, okay? I want to get booked on podcasts. If you're talking about yoga in general, and you want to get on podcasts and you're talking about yoga, like you're a yoga teacher. Hi, I'm a yoga teacher. And you're pitching yourself to be a guest on a podcast, doesn't really necessarily, it will be difficult for you. Let's just call it what it is. Unless you've got a massive social media following and you're a big influencer, it'll be challenging for you. But the more specific that you can make your niche, the easier it will be for people to want to talk to you. And way more importantly, it will be clearer for you to know who will want to talk to you. Let's say that I work with dogs that have recently been adopted. I do dog yoga for owners and dogs that have recently been adopted to create a bond between them, right? Now, if I know that that's what I'm working on, it is so much easier for me to tighten up my messaging, understand what I'm talking about, come up with a program or a method for what it is that I've created, reach out to all of the dog pounds in North America, reach out to all of the lists for adoption, who are the partners, the dog food partners, what companies donate dog food to dog, like it's unlimited, right? And it also gives a lot of direction. And then when someone's talking to you, you're going to have something to say that they're really interested in. So you'd find dog yoga podcasts. You could find even yoga podcasts in general. I think people would be very interested to hear how dog yoga for recently adopted dogs comes in and what you learned about it and how it applies to everyone, as an example. It's just something different. It's something unique. And you can also find a massive amount of target clients based on that specific thing, where they would say, let's say if we're looking at people who like dog yoga, well, they're going to say, well, okay, I like dog yoga, but I recently adopted. It's just that much more specific for them. And what I learned in going through all of my coaching modules and the deliberate dream life system that I've created and that I implement and taught on the retreat, it's that the more specific your niche, and ideally you have a niche that's filled with high quality targets and client avatar of people who can pay for your service and are excited to work with you and are recognizable and all those sorts of things. It's like the stronger your niche, the stronger you will be able to market, the stronger it will be, the easier it will be for you to open doors and to have people choose you to do the service. Yesterday, once again, I was on a client call with a new client. They never heard of a lawyer who worked with health and wellness businesses. And I was like, hi, that's me. That's what I do. And on the call, my client was like, he's like, this is genius. This is like, even if I knew another lawyer, I wouldn't work with them because I want to work with you because you understand the specifics of what I'm doing and you've worked with so many people in the same place. And I said, bingo. So I just want to reiterate, like, my big gleaning from teaching, spending all the different methods and systems and processes and sales script and everything that I taught on the retreat, the big thing is like niche. Dialing in your niche will open all of the doors for you. The last piece that I've really taken and that warms my heart and that I really want to share with everyone who's listening about running a retreat. I see now that I've gone through the process and actually done it, that really I had an obligation to run this retreat. And the reason why I had an obligation is because I really want to show people what's possible. I want to show people what's possible with their business in the sense of choosing a niche, working in an area that they want, choosing the clients, choosing a topic or a subject or a service that they're super passionate about. And also I want to show people what's possible with their lives, that you can travel all over the world and build an insanely profitable business at the same time, that you can do different sport activities every day and run a great business on time, that you can have at the same time, that you can have an amazing team that you delegate to, that you work with, who's responsive and awesome and amazing at the same time. And that's like above all else, from everything else, what I learned is that we have an obligation to show each other what is possible in our lives. And each of us have our own little zone of genius and our own expertise in our own area of what we're great at. For me, I believe what that is being an easygoing, successful online business owner who can build a great business that, works for me and works for my lifestyle and supports amazing people and that people love working with, and to do so while traveling the world and being online and living in remote locations like in the northeast of Brazil. And I have an obligation to show people what's possible. Like, hey, you can choose any random niche that you want in the world, and I can help you build an online business around that. In the same way, the reason why I'm sharing this is because I want all of you, of anyone who's listening, show people what is possible based on your experiences. My question to you is, what is the thing that you are the best in the world at? What is the thing that you can teach other people? What is something that is really readily accessible for you and something you succeed at that other people struggle with? And how can you show them what is possible in their lives? And I just want to close today's episode with that message and just share that, and that in running a retreat, it's like anything that you don't know what you're doing until you're doing it. And then afterwards it makes sense. You're like, oh, this is what I did. But more than anything, it's just we have an obligation to support each other, to help each other, to show each other what is possible in our lives. And even though you might not think that it makes any difference, by virtue of you creating something, doing something different, showing people what's possible, showing people what comes easy to you, can make a really big and big impact in their life. So my encouragement for you is to do that. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I spoke about operating retreat. I talked about the importance of setting your margins and having low overhead costs so that there's no risk of you being stressed about money. I talked about the importance of actually doing it, making sure what you're doing is aligned with what lights you up, but also setting intentions and getting clear on what it looks like for the participants, not being attached to it looking a particular way. I talked about the importance of having a niche for your business, and that was the big business training. And then lastly, showing other people what is possible. There you go. Another podcast in the books. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, please like and subscribe. I hope that you enjoy. And I'm excited to create some new content soon. Whatever you do, stay different.